All right, if we're ready to go. Welcome, hopefully, to our final meeting. Very exciting. Do our last schedule meeting, that's correct. We'll go ahead and do check-in and get started here. Who would like to start with check-in? I can start. Thank you. Here, Carol, this for you.
Hi. My name is Kurt Mazzone.
Thank you.
I'm doing very well today. I have no time constraints other than the end of the meeting. President Bailey and I will be traveling to Orlando to, after this for the FDA Garden Conference tomorrow and Saturday. I don't believe we have anything else to say about that?
Tara.
Oh, Tara is missing, yes. Tara's right. No elephants and expectations. Reach agreement.
My name is Kevin Daly, I'm the president of the Teachers Association of Lee County. Time constraints, 7 o'clock maximum. Missing noted elephants, non-expectations, and reach agreement.
Hi, I'm Jill Castellano. I am a PCT at Varsity Lakes Middle, and I am the vice president of TALC. I'm doing quite well. Time constraints, 7 p.m. I believe missing has been noted. No elephants, and my expectation is to reach agreement.
Good evening, I am Anna Whitten. I'm a 3rd grade teacher at Colonial Elementary, as well as the TALC secretary. I am doing fine. I have no time constraints. I can be here as long as it takes for us to wrap this up. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and I would like to reach agreement.
Hello, my name is Samantha Howard. I'm a PCT at Hart's Rock Middle School, and I'm well. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted. I have no elephants, and I would also like to reach agreement.
Good afternoon, my name is Shay Pearson. I'm a testing coordinator at High School. I'm also the top treasurer. I am doing well. I do have a time constraint of 6 p.m. so I can teach my adult ed class. Missing's been noted, no elephants, and I'd like to make agreements.
Good afternoon, I'm Mario Riverside, I'm doing well. I'm teaching us how to learners. I'm constraint 5:30, missing is noted, no offense, and my expectation is to reach agreements.
Good afternoon, my name is Louis Fisher, I'm the director of finance at Gateway High School. Running ragged right now. My time constraints is trying to, all things are going well, getting in before 7. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and expectations to finish.
Hello, my name is Amy Johnson. I am doing well today. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted. I know relevant and my expectations are to finish.
Good evening, my name is Lashana Hutchinson. I am the math coach at Hartman Park Elementary. I am well today. I have no time constraints. This is no elephants, and my expectation is to reach agreements.
Good evening, my name is Iris Corrali. I'm a school social worker currently assigned to my senior high school. I am doing well. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted, no elephants. My expectation is to reach agreement so that we can finish.
Good afternoon, my name is Bob Copeland. I teach math at Three Oaks Middle School. I'm also the area coordinator for TALC. I'm doing fantastic. Time constraints none, missing noted, elephants none, and expectations is to reach agreements.
Good afternoon, I'm Christina Stewart. I'm doing well. I am a kindergarten through 5th grade art teacher at Georgia Reserve Elementary. I'm doing well. No time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, and expectation is to finish, please.
We're up. Okay.
I am Robert Dodig, I am well, no time constraints. We have been Osman missing, he has a parental obligation tonight, so he won't be here. I have no relevance, and my expectation is to reach an agreement, not S, but that's okay.
I'm Will Rothenberg, I'm doing well, no time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, and expectation finish.
Good evening, I'm Heather Leonard, I'm doing well this evening. I don't have any time constraints outside of our standard ending time frame. Missing have been noted, I have no elephants, and I'd like to reach an agreement.
Hi, Kelly Lecture, I'm doing fine, no time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, and expectation is to reach agreements.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Hunter, I'm good, no time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, and reaching agreement.
I'm Carl Burnside, I'm doing fine. We may have a time constraint of 6:50. So hopefully it won't be an constraint. Missing's been noted, no elephants, expectation, finish.
Good evening, I am Rachel Gould. I am fine, no time constraints, no elephants, and to finish.
Good afternoon, I'm Bonnie McFarland, I'm doing well, no time constraints before the end of today's meeting, missing noted, no elephants, and expectation is to finish.
Jessica Duncan.
Doing well, every time constraint of 6:45. Missing is noted, no elephants, my expectation is to reach agreement.
Christine Trode, doing great. I do not have any time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, expectations to finish.
Shannon Johnston, I'm doing great, no time constraints, no elephants, expectations are to finish.
Mike Eagle, I'm doing good, no time constraints.
Expectation to finish, missing is noted, no elephants.
Hi, I'm Suzette Rivera, I'm doing well, no time constraints, anything has been noted, no elephants, and my expectation is to reach an agreement.
I'm Amy French.
I'm doing well.
No time constraints, but I'm not changing my shoes. I'm going to assume we're going out quickly tonight. Missing has been noted. I don't have any elephants, and expectations is to finish.
Amanda Guzman, I'm also doing well, no time constraints, missing has been noted, no elephants, and I would like to see it all finished.
Sorry. Okay, well, according to the agenda, we just have Article 10 compensation. Do we need to approve any minutes as well? Okay. So, what are the dates for the minutes that you're approving? March 18th minutes? Okay. Who would like to start for the March 18th minutes?
Yeah, I guess I can. I only have a couple. So in my printout, it's page 6 of 16. 7 bullets from the bottom. The word agree should be agreed.
Agree with agree?
No, the trade system would have to be agreed. Yeah, I guess agreed.
So agree works?
No, with a D.
With a D, okay, thank you.
The next page, 7 of 16, the top bullet, I don't know what it's trying to say, so I guess it can just be stricken. Page 8 of 16, last bullet. Compensation should be compensate. page 9 of 16. First bullet, and it should be 2. The word 2, T-O, not the number.
And is switching to 2?
Yes. And on the same page, 6th bullet down, at the word this, it should say, looking at retention, this allows.
Have it say what it's allowed.
Add the word this before the word allows. And I have one more comments, it's the last one. Last one is page 11 of 16. 5th bullet from the bottom, it should say 255 day schedule, but it says 2550. That's a lot of days to work.
That is a lot of days. I feel that we work that. Any other changes to the minutes? Bob?
Yeah, I know our page, I don't think coincide with regards to the animal, but I don't think that the ones I'm gonna mention you've already done.
Okay.
Page 2, the second to last bullet, where it says, however, that's as it relates. Just a grammar error. And page,
Can you repeat that one?
Sure.
That's at the relate.
That's.
page 2, the word that's as it relates.
You should just say that as it
Right,
relates.
that as it relates. And then on page 4, the fifth bullet down, the district grants some additional numbers to provide similar options that might fight within the allocated amount of programs fit.
Fight to fit.
And page 8 of 16, the fourth bullet from the bottom, I think that what we need to decide it collectively right here as a group is better be something placed out there. And I think that
Needs to be words.
might be all. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for minutes? Seeing no other hands, if we approve the minutes with the changes, give me a thumbs up, please. All right, minutes are approved, we'll get that circled. Starting off great with our first orange circle. We have a second to get quiet. All right, so now we're on to our only agenda item that I see, which is compensation. Who would like to start?
We can.
Okay.
So thankfully, over the past 3 days, we've had the ability through labor management conversations to work out an option. And I may be a little bit premature in doing this, but I want to thank Elizabeth and Will and Kelly and her and Kevin and for helping us out and try to get to this point. So if Will's gonna project this up on the screens and then I'll hand this over to him so he can take us through it.
All right, so we took the option that TALC put out there at the last bargaining session and had some discussion back and forth about whether there was kind of a hybrid option that would help make sure that we were meeting all of the shared interests of both sides of the bargaining table. This is basically what we came up with. TALC had mentioned a $200 increase in salary for all TALC bargaining unit members. And that's to make sure that we're getting to the 47.5. And so doing that first, then the next step would be looking at, again, kind of that concept of pay bands based on years X. It would be to apply increases in the amounts listed there for the years listed there. You can see it says exclude special instructional and JROTC. We would deal with them separately, and some of that is in order to address some of the challenges that we were talking about before in terms of what's recorded for year X and trying to make sure that we're being equitable based on what people have on file or what they were able to have on file. We would also want to update the starting salary schedule, and I think based on those increases, there is a possibility that like maybe one person would need to be trued up. It's not many. I don't know that the cost was significant, but we wanted to just say that may need to happen for that one person. The base salary increase for special instructional employees would be $2,000. And for JROTC instructors, it would be $2,000. Longevity increase, that would be to increase years 25 through 29 and years 30 plus to those amounts. Part of the thought process behind that is that we've already had some discussion with SPALC about trying to align their longevity pay with the way that it's done for TALC and admin salary schedule, so that everyone's kind of on one system. And it's looking at your years L, which is non-consecutive years of district service. In order to do that, we would anticipate that those amounts would need to go up a little bit so that it's consistent for SPALC and TALC. We haven't reached an agreement yet with SPALC on that, but again, just in looking at that would be an interest or priority that we would want to target.
Well, it's not clear, but it's all of option 23 altogether, correct?
Yes. Yeah, and we can make this available. I think we shared the PowerPoint right into the line and then first make it happen. For differential pay, again, the special center supplement that we talked about before of $4,000 for those 5 locations. We added a clarification. There's an existing supplement of about $700 for people at DJJ. This would replace that. So we wanted to make sure that people understood that this is not in addition to, it's to replace that. And that rough numbers is about 12.5 million, which again is our bargaining authority. I got a couple more slides to show you just because I know there was some interest from the TALC side in seeing, okay, what does this do in terms of that line that we've been talking about? And then we also had a slide that we wanted, or a couple slides, I guess, to share that showed some of where we stand in relation to other districts throughout the state of Florida. So this is the average salary information by years. Again, you can see the blue line is where we are at currently, and the orange line is where we would be after this option. Years 4 through 8, we have that trough, which is caused by some of the compression issues that we've encountered because of the move to 47.3. Where it bumps up at year 3 is because that's when people are moving on the career ladder. So that average salary is higher because after 3 years, most people, if they're here, they've done everything that they need to, they're getting that bump. This is what the thought was for that new hire salary schedule or starting salary schedule. Again, we would want to true up anyone who was below this. Don't imagine that there's a whole lot of need for that, but just we want to make sure that no one's in the position where, years ago, people were saying, I can just quit and come back and make more money. Again, that year 0 through 3, those people after the 3rd year, again, they're eligible for that first $1,000 for movement on the career ladder. That's kind of the way that it's been historically. And so we tried to keep that group together so that we didn't have that leapfrog effect that we've had in the past. Skipping ahead, these are just to give, again, kind of the full rounded picture, and we will attach this slideshow to the minutes. We can go back and look at any of these if anyone wants, but this shows the average salary for Lee County in orange and the average salary for the state in blue. So you can see some of the things that we've done over the past several years with market adjustments, with the career ladder stuff. We've actually closed the gap on the average salary for the state. I think one of our goals is to continue to do that, and then eventually to get to the point where we're doing the same thing with the national average, which Florida's state average is well below the national average, so we have to first get to the state average before we can set our sights on that higher number. When you look at the average median salary, this is where we have done a lot better. This is really where the impact of some of those market adjustments has made a difference. And so you can see there's a very narrow gap there in terms of what our an average teacher, or the average teacher, not an average of teachers. I don't know how to best explain that in math terms, word problem style, but we're doing all right in this. And then there's another visual representation for anyone who's interested. This is average teacher versus median teacher salary by district. And again, you can see where we stack up in relation to some of the others. And it's not that far off. We're not one of those dark blue counties yet, but that's where we would. No, this is not based on any numbers. None of these past 3 slides. These are historic. This is FY21. One of the other things, and I would just say this as kind of a caveat. Different districts are reaching agreements at different times in the year. The state collects the data at the same time, every year. So if a district hasn't reached an agreement yet, their numbers might look disproportionately lower or higher than others, which is why we try to look at that as trend data to say, okay, if it bounces up one year, down the next year, eventually it'll kind of smooth out. But this is a snapshot based on the FY21. This is right after the first round of the TSET lending.
Any questions about anything on here? Any comments? Bob?
Yeah, I just want to just point out to everyone that's watching how the last 10 years we've come to this. I managed to beat up, I don't know, except maybe for Kyle, anybody else who was here. Rob, this is a salary schedule that we had back 10 years ago. One thing. And I remember asking Amy a few years ago how many different salary schedules we have. And I believe there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, if not thousands, different ways that the people are getting paid. And I just want to commend both sides for the last 10 years on doing what we've done to fix the things that the state did. Back in 736, Senate Bill 736, you guys all know, they were the ones back in 2011, the end of 2011, July 2011, I believe. And we went into a contract that year. And this may feel, I could tell you back then, I did, on what I was gonna be making in 2 or 3 years. I could tell by looking at the steps. There's no more of that. So if somebody comes to the district right now and says, I wonder what am I gonna be making in 5 years from now? I have no idea what the heck to tell them. I don't know. And I just want to commend both sides for what we've done over the last 10 years to get to the point where we have a very, very great relationship between both sides, and we work together, and we've gone from this to what we currently have, no fault of ours. And the salary configuration, the way it is now, you gotta be a genius to kind of figure it out. And I just wanted to, just give you that little brief synopsis about the complexity of what is involved and what we're all doing here to get it to the point where we have a proposal up there after, 15 binding sessions? And it's not something that you're gonna rip through overnight. And back 10 years ago, you probably know too, we didn't take 15 sessions to do this. And I just want to, make that point known to people that are watching, and maybe some of you younger souls in here that have been around 10 years ago in the district. And I just want to thank both sides for what we've done, and I'm proud of it. Thank you.
Thanks for mentioning that, I appreciate it. Sam?
Well, could I ask a question about slide 2? And I just want to see if I can clarify why there's a difference between 200 for everybody and then that 200 is our teacher money, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Just wasn't up there, I want to make sure everybody watching understands why there's teacher money.
Yeah.
And that is in addition to the board authority numbers that we see below that.
Yes, yeah, that, I want to say just like rough numbers off the top of my head, that was like 1.4 million. Give everyone the $200.
Thank you for clarifying that. Anybody else?
I just wanted to clarify, Kelly, I would be remiss if I didn't. Kelly said the exact figure of the spend on this plan is 12.67 million, so.
12.67?
Correct.
I have a microphone even though I can't see it. We're gonna take a quick caucus if you guys don't mind to kind of talk about this.
Sure.
Okay.
Are you guys going to conference as well, or you're all set? Great.
Thank you, I'll get the TALC caucus report. We had a lot of discussion around the option, and I would like to thank, Will, Elizabeth, Mauricia, folks in labor relations compensation for taking a second look at this option. I think it does as good of a job as possible, taking the money available and putting both TALC and the district's interests together. And, we not only reached the floor amount of 47.5 with this proposal, but I think we are finally able, this is the first time since I've been a negotiator, finally able to put some money into the pockets of veteran employees to help with the compression that's been happening over the past few years, even from the hands of the legislature. I know that when we come back to the table in August, oh man, this is major very soon. When we come back to the table in August, it will be one of TALC's interests to look at putting more money into the salary schedule to hopefully decompress the salary schedule and, using that piece of money that we expect to maintain where we are and then all the strings will be off since we're at that 47.5 and we'll have a little more flexibility. But I think we had, like I said, a robust discussion, and unless anybody else from the team has a question or a comment, I think it's up.
What number option is it?
23.
Okay, unless there's questions, I would like to call a test. So Mike has Mike.
I have one,
Last minute things,
I have one clarification.
Hold on, Mike.
Wait for Mike, Mike.
You can take that. What is the effective date of this increases?
We believe it was July 1, 2021.
I think that's correct. I think the new hire salary schedule will, the new hire salary schedule, I think you were looking at, going into effect on July 1. Again, we would do the trip, but that would be moving forward. The other thing I was just reminded to say was that, the retro would be made on base pay only. I think we've had enough complications with trying to calculate class coverage this year that we wouldn't want to necessarily add to those. So just would put that out there.
Amanda, 21. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, 7121.
Not 22.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, because I was gonna ask about retro, so would someone be a lump sum or that would be our new base moving forward, or we would get on July 1st?
So, if it's 7121, there would be money that we would owe people for the work that they've done so far this year. So we would have to figure out for implementation when we could provide that payment. So it wouldn't be just moving forward. For people that have worked this year, they would get on their base. We would get their base rate would receive that increase back to 701, but not like.
So the 7121 date is that the date that this would be effective, not the payment date.
Correct.
Per employee.
We haven't talked about the implementation yet. I think we have some ideas and some timeframes, but I know that normally we have some sort of rough, approximation discussion in here, and then we shore things up in labor management and put that out to everyone in a joint communication.
And then when you mentioned that it would be base pay only, that is in reference to like supplements and different stuff that are indexed, that how that affects those other payments would not be retro, would just be that base pay.
No, but I think you're right, the supplements would be re-indexed, but what I was talking about was, and it would be to keep the dollar amount the same, but the supplemental contract. So like the class coverage, we're not gonna go back and recalculate everyone's hourly rate on every single one of those. We're just trying to get them in, now, and so it wouldn't apply to that.
So supplements are indexed based on your hourly rate or all of that, would that then also be retro or just the base pay?
The retro would be on base salary.
Base salary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the supplements for like department chair and stuff, those amounts would stay the same.
So I looked at Mike, he's good. And he's an auditor, so, you know, that's his job. Did I put it up there?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're ready to test? Okay, showing thumbs. Good job. Excellent, okay. So, yes, put a big circle with some red hearts around it. And then there's some fireworks. I do want to say great job by this whole team. We have been together a really long time, and usually a long time. But everybody was respectful. For the most part, we follow process. So I do want to thank you. So now, for now, though, we do have to talk about implementation. So, go to Kevin first, and then Rob.
There is one last thing that's kind of on the table that we have been kind of working at separately, but haven't gotten a resolution, and that's the special instructional group for coverage. And so,
Okay.
I don't know how we're gonna say that, but at this point, we need resolution. And if that means that we have a special instructional labor management on our regular labor management day, we gotta figure out a way to get.
So can I, there were a couple other things, I think, too, that we had talked about for labor management discussion too. I know experience credit was one of them. I think like Kevin said, the special instructional like kind of coverage, differentiation of ESE supplement. I think there were a couple of those things that we wanted to look at, trying to have a recommendation as soon as possible if we could, but not part of bargaining for this year because we don't want it to delay the payment of this. Do we want to make a list of those or like things to push to labor management for the next meeting or?
Yeah, I think so, but I think again, getting those things solved. And again, I think along with the coverage issue, we may have to revisit that in August as well, around available monies and things like that. So doing the coverage for special instructional staff to end the sunset like the other one, and then we're doing it all again in August.
So we'll make a list of stuff that has to go to labor management. That's what we're gonna do. So we said special instructional coverage. What else did we say? Pay differential for ESE? I'm sorry, I forgot the one you said, Will.
So just off the top of my head, I think the ones that I had on the list were special instructional coverage, differentiation of the ESE supplement, and that was something that's been discussed before to help with self-contained classrooms. Experience credit, and then Kevin had brought up to me, I think on the phone too, wanting to look at, there was a request a couple years back for technical college, trade certification stuff. I don't know if we just want to put CTE. Is that all of them?
Highest degree supplement as well.
Yep. variables that we didn't get to.
Do we need to take a vote on that, or we just?
No,
Okay, all right.
Can you read the list one more time?
I sure can, go ahead.
Special instructional coverage, pay differential for ESE, experience credit, CTE, highest degree supplement, additional articles there. That's good?
Yep.
All right, do we want to move on to implementation? Okay.
Well, I think, we have a, I think, labor management meeting on Wednesday, is that? Yeah. But I think we agreed to some things in this tentative agreement that, I think, one of the bonuses in April, right? Didn't we say April, so, yeah, we probably need to talk about that a little bit. I don't know how we pay that, because this, I mean, we'll pay it, but we're probably gonna need a separate MOU for that, maybe.
In the past, we've offered some sort of like a whole fund list.
Yeah.
So if there was a, problem with ratification, we'd revisit. I'm hoping that if the timeline goes right, we can ratify, sorry, I'm looking at my calendar here. I'm hoping the week of April the 25th. Because I think we have to give, well, I know we have to give at least 10 days. 10, for the tentative agreement, that cooling off period. So we could get we'd have to get the TA out by the 13th in order to ratify on the 27th. Otherwise, we're gonna push into May.
Just hold on a second, I have to decide. So I'm just looking at when school board meetings fall. And the last meeting in April is the 26th. So, I mean, I could theoretically ask the superintendent to have a special meeting.
So you guys could always go first. Traditionally, it's us, but, I mean, you could go first.
So I just was looking at it and trying to think back, and sorry, this is going back a little bit. So today's March 31st, typically it takes about 2 weeks to get the tentative agreement together. I don't know how long you all feel like you need to review it. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of like big sweeping changes. Were you saying, so like 4/13 is a Wednesday, if we got into that Wednesday, then by that Monday, you think we could have it back and any edits made? So that then you'd have the 2-week period to have it out at schools and have people have the opportunity to review it, maybe have the video explanation.
Perhaps, I was thinking, I'm looking at our calendar, we have, FEA has a governance board meeting, the 28th and 29th, so we would have to ratify the 27th if we did something that week, and so we would have to get the TA out by the 13th. And that's really pushing it. So maybe if we push ratification to May 4th, maybe if we push ratification to May the 4th, then that would give us a little bit more time. How would that affect any type of payout? I have to look at those folks that. Yeah.
The TA would have the signatures, the same signatures that an MOU would have, correct? I mean, it would be the 2 people representing TALC, superintendent, so that could serve in that place if we had that by the, you said the 13th to you all, and then that would give enough time to do ratification on May 4th.
Yeah,
And then board meeting May 10th.
if we got the TA by the 13th and we had a couple of days to do edits, send it out. So Easter Monday's the 18th, so I'd say the 19th. We should have no problem ratifying May 4th. And I believe we did something similar with the $1,000 bonus for all the instructional staff that did not receive it from the governor. We reached agreement, paid it, and then ratified.
Did you have the signature?
Yeah.
And we're also in the midst of preparing our ratification packets or having them prepared, so we were like, because they've done away with the ability to do it via computer. And so a week and a half ago, we reached out to have our packets started production, so we're ready to send those out as soon as we need to. That won't be a problem.
Okay,
So ratification in April, what's that date?
13th.
No, I think we said May 4th.
May 4th, ratification.
We'll have the TA to TALC by the 13th of April, and we will have it out to all staff by the 19th.
Okay, and we have a board meeting May 10th, so that's what we did, put it before the board.
So the TA would be signed when?
When, after TALC reviews it, gives us their edits, we review their edits, agree, which would be.
At the latest, the 19th.
Right, of April, yes.
Oh, yeah, so it's going to the staff, you don't have it all set, yeah. Okay. Anything else we need to add for the implementation?
No, 19th is good, as long as we have it by then, so pressure's on us.
When is the retro base payment scheduled to go out then?
So I think part of that hinges on making sure that we can get the TA to you and sign it back on the time frame that we have. I think we would maybe need an implementation conversation to give an official date. But we would be able to have a date kind of in mind and out before the 19th. Not that the date would be before the 19th, but that we can announce the date. I mean, maybe on Wednesday of next week or at labor management the week after. I mean, that should give us enough time to kind of get with ERP and all of the other people involved and figure out what it's gonna take.
So okay with that?
And just to throw this into the conversation too, I think when we're looking at evaluations going out, reappointments, voluntary transfer period, balance of contract check, I mean, we're in, bonuses, we're in like a peak season, but also I think that that's kind of motivation for us to get it done sooner, because if we wait, then we have all of those things kind of stacking up. So there's no reason, I guess, no reason not to get it done as quickly as possible on our end.
Is that good feedback? Everybody, I see Mike, I don't know if he's raising his hand. Oh, okay. Good.
Also, as part of implementation, I just want to remind you to edit Article 1403, the duration. We spoke about moving a 3-year window, I think earlier, sometime in the session. And by earlier, that could have been way back on, or what, August the 30th. I think we're in our, what did I say, guys? 43rd hour bargaining. So I can't remember when we discussed that, but it would be nice not to go right back to a full board.
So just make sure, so it's 22, 23, 24.
Did you hold up next year?
No,
That's what he's saying. And one other thing, and just because I know that we have some of this, and this is mainly just to get it in the minutes, we always have like little housekeeping things too that might need to be adjusted, and to just want to make note of that if we find typos or headings or references to departments that no longer exist, or policies that aren't numbered properly, or statutes that have changed, that we would want to be able to adjust those.
Would that be a scrivener's error?
It could be.
So I have a question. I think both of us have constituencies that will hear about this or are watching. So Will's leaving and going to Washington DC for a few days.
Jeez.
He hasn't been nominated for Supreme Court justice yet.
Maybe a new labor secretary, if they're together and get approved.
So I'm just wondering how we want to communicate this in the next 2 days. I mean, today's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. Something general, generic, I think we need to put something out, however. And I know you all are going to be in Orlando.
Link to the video.
Thoughts?
Well, I'm happy to work with you on a joint communication that can go out tomorrow. I think we could put enough together to hold this word until we get this game going.
I think, yeah, we can get the more detailed one. I'm leaving here, going home, packing and flying out, so, probably should have done some of that before coming here.
Yeah, I'll get the bargaining conference, but I mean, you can always reach me, I can say.
Okay, I'll put something together, email it to you. Yeah. Okay.
For joint communication?
A joint communication, but not a detailed joint communication, those will come. Yeah.
And I'll be next to him at the bargaining conference, so we will have the ability to see it in real time. Joe will be there too in case your assistance is required.
Anything else?
I just want to say one final thing. Thank you. I'm an emotional guy. I'm happy with everything. I came here in September, didn't know what to expect. And you all have been great. So, thank you.
And I want to counter that too with, as kind of edgy as it got at times, I think the process is what carried it through. And at times where there wasn't a relationship and wasn't a long-established process, it could have very easily kind of been torn asunder, as they say in the wedding vows. And so, you know, again, I think on top of everything else, this is a lesson in process and having faith in process and relationships over time. So, again, well done. See you guys August 15th.
Very nicely done. Have a great evening.